After successfully redeeming the Yandere male lead, I bid him farewell. I'm leaving now. You'll meet the female lead who truly loves you in the future. Wishing you both happiness. Xiaoyu lowered his eyes without speaking, unable to understand his silence. I chose to leave this world. The next day, I lay on the bed playing Catch the Goose. Suddenly, a scream from the system echoed in my mind. The male lead's darkening value has maxed out. Please proceed to the second redemption. I was sent back to the small world, only to find that 10 years had passed, and the gentle, jade-like crown prince had become a bloodthirsty tyrant. The moment before I appeared, he was wiping the blood from his long sword with a faint smile. Her face. How dare you wear it? Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. When I was transported back to the small world, I was still clutching my little cake. I stared blankly at the familiar yet unfamiliar buildings around me. How did I end up back here again? Host. There was a minor accident in your last mission that requires your remedy. Hearing the system's voice, I let out a sigh of relief. It turned out there was an issue with the task that needed fixing. That scared me to death. I thought the system had broken down, sending me home for just one day before bringing me back again. I scooped a spoonful of the little cake. The cream is sweet. I walked through the palace, where I could find my way even with my eyes closed, heading towards Xiaoyu's residence. Since I'm back, I might as well go play with him. Let him taste my little cake too. It's white peach oolong flavored. Super delicious. He's from ancient times and has never tasted a cupcake before. I carefully sealed the lid of the jar cake and slowly walked along the long palace path. I was just one step away from catching all the geese in that last round. It's all Xiaoyu's fault, choosing to turn dark neither early nor late, but right when I was about to catch the big goose. Now look, the goose got away, and I got dragged back instead. So mad. Later, I'll only give him a tiny bite of cake, just enough for a taste. The rest I'll devour right in front of him. Make him furious. Speaking of Xiaoyu, how did he turn dark? The system didn't give me an answer. I walked to the palace where Xiaoyu and I once lived together, only to find that now only a few palace maids remain to maintain and clean it. In the courtyard, the apricot tree we planted together was in full bloom. The spring breeze blew past, and snow-white petals fell from the branches. They fluttered down one after another, covering my hair and shoulders. I suddenly realized something was wrong. When did this apricot tree grow so big? Just as I thought of this question, the system in my mind spoke up. Host. The time flow rate in this world is different from yours. It has been 10 years since you left. It's been 10 years. No wonder it's so desolate here. Xiaoyu must have left long ago. Right. I ran to find a palace maid, wanting to ask where Xiaoyu is now. Who would have thought that when the maid turned and saw me? Her pupils constricted in shock. You know. Before I could finish, she suddenly screamed. Assassin. Catch the assassin. Me? Wait. I'm not. She wouldn't listen to me at all. Dropping the broom in her hand, she rushed forward and pinned me down forcefully. Though last time I came for a mission, I was also a palace maid, but I never do any work. The tasks assigned to me by the senior maid, I delegate to Xiaoyu to handle, muddling through each day. In reality, I'm a barely passing college student in physical education, utterly incapable of resisting a maid who does heavy labor. In no time, she caught me. I hugged my little cake pitifully. I'm really not an assassin. I'm here to find Xiaoyu. Can you take me to see Xiaoyu? The palace maid narrowed her eyes. You want to see His Majesty? Is it Xiaoyu? When I left, he was the crown prince. and the emperor had been bedridden for a long time. 10 years have passed, so it's time for him to ascend the throne. My eyes lit up. Yes, I want to see His Majesty. She called another palace maid from the hall. The two of them tied me up and escorted me like door gods. The journey was too boring. I'm making small talk. How long has Xiaoyu been on the throne? The palace maids ignore me. According to the original plot, he would meet, get to know, and fall in love with the general's legitimate daughter, becoming an enviably affectionate imperial couple. Just a small mishap in the world. Xiaoyu's mother was executed due to witchcraft accusations, altering the plot. He became a pitiful abandoned child. The originally noble and upright crown prince's descent into darkness is even more terrifying in the script. The system only sent me to redeem him when he was still immature. Mission accomplished. The plot is back on track. In the future, he will meet his female lead and live a loving life with her. As for me, I'm miserably going back to school, facing 5-8 a.m. classes a week. At this thought, sorrow wells up within me. He's in love, while I'm stuck with 8 a.m. classes. How pitiful I am. Craving a bite of that little cake. Found myself tied up. Can't eat it. Woo-woo. I'm even more pitiful now. Neither of the two palace maids will talk to me. I follow them. And if I walk too slowly, they hurry me along. Stop rushing me. Don't you know the imperial palace is huge? We delicate college students would die walking such a long distance. Before I completely dropped dead. Finally arrived. The palace maid handed me over to a senior maid with higher-ranking attire. Her gaze swept over my arms and legs, revealing understanding and disdain in her eyes. At least you came somewhat prepared. Me, just remembered. I'm wearing a nightgown, and it's one with built-in padding. At home, I just wear whatever's most comfortable for lounging. But this is ancient times. My current attire would be considered indecent even on a bed. I wanted to explain, but the next second she grabbed my chin. But I was taller than her. I'm 5'6", and the head maid looks only about 6 foot. Her choking me was somewhat comical. The head maid gave me a look, and fearing someone might pin me down, I lowered myself voluntarily to let her see clearly. I even blinked my eyes. I'm very obedient. Don't tie me up. The senior maid's eyes grew even more satisfied. Her temperament is similar too. His Majesty will surely be very pleased this time. She released her grip and moved behind me. The ropes binding my wrists were untied. The next second, the palace doors swung open. I was thrown inside. Despite it being daytime, the palace was shrouded in deep, oppressive darkness. When I arrived earlier, I noticed the palace maid had led me to a very secluded place. Now that I've been left inside the palace, I see that all the windows are covered with black paper. Only a single candle seems to be burning inside. A crimson glow spreads from the inner hall, and faintly, the sound of a woman weeping can be heard. Clearly, all the windows were shut. Yet I felt an eerie draft pass by, raising goosebumps all over my skin. Holding my white peach oolong-flavored box cake, I tiptoed further inside. The closer I got to the inner area, the louder the woman's sobbing became. This time, I could hear her moans and pleas for mercy. Your Majesty, please don't. Your Majesty, I can't eat anymore. At the same time, I also heard the sound of liquid dripping onto the ground. I stopped in my tracks. I've read a lot of stories. The sound of a woman's voice combined with the sound of water. My mind is a mess. I've turned yellow. Why do you still have to throw me in here? The system said the male lead has turned dark. Could it be that he no longer loves the female lead wholeheartedly but instead chooses to build a harem? Finding one woman insufficient and wanting a second. I was so anxious that I immediately called out to the system, frantically pinging it. The system seemed to have crashed, taking several seconds before responding to me. No. Host. I can't say much in the domain where the male lead appears. As for the specific situation, you'll understand once you move forward. This world is on the verge of collapse, and only you can save it. Good luck to you. After uttering these words, the system went completely offline. No matter how I called out to it, it wouldn't come back. It's over. It's over. What am I supposed to do now? I took a deep breath, suppressing my wildly beating heart. But suddenly, I noticed the sounds from the inner chamber had ceased. The female lead's voice was nowhere to be heard. Only the dripping of water remained, like someone's faucet wasn't completely turned off. Clearly knowing the danger ahead. Clearly knowing I should hide now. But curiosity killed the cat. I still couldn't resist sneaking forward. Beyond the final screen, I peeked out stealthily. At the center of my gaze was a burning red candle, with a whole plate of osmanthus cakes placed before it. The surroundings were plastered with all kinds of talismans. I can't make heads or tails of these scribbles. All I can see is a woman lying on the ground at 12 o'clock. Her mouth is stuffed with osmanthus cakes, and her throat has been slit. Blood drips from the wound. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Bright red liquid flows toward the central candle. Upon touching the candle's base, the flames surge brilliantly. My heart skipped a beat. That was the sound of water I heard earlier. I held my breath, my limbs going weak. This scene was exactly like the Chinese horror movies I've watched. I used to see it only on screen and felt nothing. Now I'm immersed in the scene. I heard the rustling of wind through talisman papers and the sound of blood dripping. In the air, the sickly sweet scent of blood mixed with the fragrance of osmanthus cakes was nauseating. The most terrifying thing is, inside the hall, there should be another person. He is not in the inner hall. The next moment, I felt the blade pressed against my neck. The sharp blade drips with the blood of its last victim. At this moment, the sword's gleam reflects my pale face. From directly behind me comes a man's light chuckle. A deep, gentle voice sounds behind me, warm breath brushing against my ear. Got you, little mouse. My whole body froze. It felt like all the blood in my body had frozen solid, no longer flowing. I tried to open my mouth to make a sound, but only managed a single syllable. The words stuck in my throat. Or perhaps, I simply didn't know what to say. I knew Xiaoyu wasn't a good person. From the very beginning when I met him, he never hid his malice. When the system caught me and brought me into this world, there was no matching body for me. The system spent energy to create one for me. Because the plotline had deviated, the world was at risk of collapsing. With limited energy left, it crafted a mini version of Liang Wu based on my data. I crouched by a small puddle and saw my reflection. My face was chubby and looked very pinchable. Reaching out, the hand is also chubby, looking very pinchable. I asked the system, "How old am I now?" System, 6 years old. The male lead is 7 years old. I'm 6. We're about the same age. I just need to stay by his side and guide him to avoid turning dark. I looked at the water and pinched my own cheek. So this is how adorable I was at 6 years old. Who could resist such an adorable me? I confidently ran to the desolate palace where Xiaoyu was, pushed the gate, but it wouldn't budge. I was too small, tried to climb the wall, but couldn't get up. I'm too small. I'm so angry. In the end, I crawled in through a dog hole. Panting heavily, I pushed aside the wild grass on my head. I stared into a pair of pitch-black eyes. In his hand was a piece of metal, its edges stained with blood. The smell of rust is much like the smell of blood. I couldn't tell whether what I smelled was rust or blood. I could only see 7-year-old Xiaoyu standing in the corner of the cold palace. At his feet lay the corpse of a palace maid. Her throat had been slit. Her head was tilted to the side. Her bloodshot eyes wide open, their lifeless gaze fixed unblinkingly on the direction of the dog hole. I was utterly shocked. You killed her. Little Xiaoyu scraped the metal shard across my cheek, using its sharp edge to flick away a withered blade of grass by my ear. He smiled at me. Another little mouse has come scurrying. Ah, how is it that he was like this as a child and still the same after growing up? The system was right. He really did turn dark. When I was little, the dark version called me a rat. And now that I'm grown up, it still calls me a rat. Fine. I'm a rat person. Okay. Since I'm already a rat person, just let me go back to the sewer. Woo-woo. I don't want any more strategies. I want to go back to my 8 a.m. class. I'm desperately calling out to the system in my mind, but it completely ignores me. This system is a rat system too. I was clearly captured by it. How could it just run off and leave me behind? Did it go back into the sewer too? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? You really will kill someone. This is still ancient times. He's the emperor, and I'm just a suspicious person who inexplicably appeared in the palace. Killing me would be perfectly justified. I'm going to get angry. I'm going to die. I'll never complain about having 5 8 a.m. classes in a week again. Woo-woo. Lost in my wandering thoughts, the person who was originally behind me leisurely walked around to stand in front of me. The sword pressed against my neck didn't waver even half an inch, even as his movement drew closer to my skin. I feared the rise and fall of my breath might slit my throat. He had now stepped directly in front of me. I dared not lower or raise my head. Only the dragon pattern on the dark robe was visible. The blade moved upward from the lower part of my neck, pressing against my chin. A sticky liquid dripped from the blade, seeping into my collar. I sensed the gaze that had been fixed on my face shifting downward. I might be dying soon, and right now my brain can't come up with any useful knowledge to save myself. Instead, I keep recalling random things I saw in short videos before. For example, what does it look like when tall people look down at shorter ones? Although the neckline of my pajamas isn't low, I've developed quite well. I'm a C-cup. He must have seen everything. I instinctively covered my chest. A mocking laugh came from above. What's so funny? The dead also have dignity. He lifted my chin. This was my first time seeing Xiaoyu after 10 years. He hadn't changed much in appearance from 10 years ago, except his features had matured slightly, and his overall demeanor had become more reserved. He slightly lowered his head to look at me, his eyes glimmering. I couldn't understand what emotion he was feeling. Who could understand a 28-year-old old man? Even in modern times, I wouldn't understand men of this age, let alone him being an emperor in ancient times. My mind would wander even when I was an emperor on the internet. How could he not act lawlessly as an emperor in reality? I met his gaze and stammered. Why you? Don't be impulsive. Don't let your hand shake. I slowly stepped back, and seeing he didn't move, I pushed the blade away from my neck. The oppressive weight of death faded, and I let out a slight sigh of relief. Xiaoyu stood motionless in place, silent. Had he broken down? I cautiously asked, "Do you still remember me?" I spent 10 years in ancient times, and when I returned, I couldn't remember most of the people on my friends list. I had to dig through old chat records for a long time just to figure out who was who. For Xiaoyu, it had also been 10 years since we last met. His gaze slowly wandered over my face, his brows slightly furrowed, as if he was trying to recall who I was. I persist with renewed effort. I'm Liang Wu, your childhood best friend. Do you remember me? I gaze at him expectantly. Xiaoyu extends his hand. His palm cups the side of my face, tracing every inch with gentle strokes. A thin layer of callus covered the palm. It itched terribly. I dared not pull away. He slowly uttered 3 words. Good friends. I nodded vigorously. Aha. We've been friends for 10 years. You know. He scoffed. I don't have friends. Me. So I wasn't even considered a friend to him. This hurts. What hurts even more is, if he doesn't see me as a friend, does that mean I'm truly done for? I hung my head in dejection, clutching my cake. That's how things stand. Might as well finish my cake. The system ignores me, and CIU doesn't know me. Might as well wait to die. Anyway, there's no going back. I wonder if dying would take me home. I scooped a spoonful of the box cake. It's white peach flavored. Not too sweet. It's delicious. Before I could take a couple more bites, the cake was snatched away. The man pinched my cheek. Why are you crying? I wiped my tears haphazardly. I'm not crying. The tears just kept falling harder. I had clearly finished all the tasks. Yet the system dragged me back again. It had promised to let me go home once the tasks were completed. Liar. I'm going to die here. And no one is saving me. I really miss Mom and Dad. What will they do if I suddenly disappear? CIU bent down to meet my eye level. Through the hazy mist. He pinched my chin. Why are you crying? I snapped angrily. Aren't you going to cry when you're about to die? He caressed my skin leisurely and said, Who said you're going to die? My eyes darted around, shifting from the wide-eyed dead woman on the ground to CIU's face. Aren't you going to kill me? His fingertip pressed downward. His body temperature was high. His fingertips burning hot. Starting from my chin. Then my neck. Collarbone. He bent down, pressing his forehead against mine. His breath brushed past my lips. My entire body stiffened. He can't escape and can't resist. I clutched my cake helplessly, hearing him murmur in satisfaction. So soft. I felt as if plunged into an icy abyss. CIU toyed with me at will, casually remarking, Not bad looking. Serve me well, and I won't kill you. He draped a coat over me and lifted me in his arms. There was another corpse inside the hall. As we stepped out of the eerie palace, the maids waiting outside bowed their heads and filed in one after another. It was clear they were quite practiced at cleaning up corpses. The leading palace maid locked eyes with me in CIU's embrace. Her pupils constricted in shock, and she hastily lowered her head. My emotions were complicated as I averted my gaze from hers. Unexpectedly, CIU turned my face back toward her. He told me to watch as they cleared the bodies over there. Guess which number this is? I held my breath. Only after leaving the inner hall did I notice that the dead woman bore a 50% resemblance to me. It's as if I'm looking into a mirror. Half of me is in CIU's embrace. The other half of me lies on the ground, my bones being gathered by others. I didn't answer. CIU doesn't need my answer. The 98th. You are the 99th. He gently caressed my brows and smiled at me. You strategists do love using this face. My breath hitched. You all. Is the dead person on the ground also a strategist? If I don't enjoy what's delivered to my doorstep, it would seem ungrateful of me. I was on edge the entire way, constantly watching his expressions, movements, and the surroundings. In no time, he carried me to the courtyard planted with apricot trees. Is the place where we once lived together. He strode into the hall, where the furnishings showed little change from before. In ancient times when technological progress was slow, a year and a decade made no difference. My back touched the bed. CIU stood by the bed and began to undo his belt. I widened my eyes. What are you doing? Stop taking it off. Stop taking it off. His upper body was already completely bare. Pecs, abs, and the Adonis belt, all perfectly defined. I froze for a moment. Pink. I heard the color is consistent across the same person's body. I swallowed hard, my pupils constricting. Xiaoyu took the boxed cake I was holding with one hand and chuckled. Greedy little thing. Never forgets about food. I instinctively retorted. That's not true. He opened the lid, dipped his finger in the cream, and smeared it onto. Come here. Finish this box cleanly and I'll let you off. I've never suffered such humiliation before. I bit my lip. No. Really no. Xiaoyu's tone was very calm. I panicked. Whether as a child or an adult, I've always been afraid of him like this. As the male lead of this small world, Xiaoyu couldn't possibly be an ordinary person. After the plotline shifted, the more noble and virtuous he was in the original story, the more cruel and tyrannical he became after his corruption. No one who goes against his will comes to a good end. The luckiest outcome is death. I've seen him deal with many who offended him before. Among them was one who had his hands and feet cut off and was thrown into a dungeon. Life is worse than death and death is beyond reach. That time, out of curiosity about what was in the dungeon, I tricked the guard by saying Xiaoyu had agreed to let me take a look. In the dungeon, I saw a man covered in maggots. White maggots wriggled on his body, burrowing into his flesh and crawling back out. A single candle burned in the dungeon, casting a dim yellow light. I vomited my lunch in disgust. Amid the puddles of vomit, those worms struggled to crawl toward me. My legs gave way as I fled. Stumbling on the stairs in my haste, I fell into a warm embrace. I looked up, seeing Xiaoyu's face, as gentle as ever. He patted my head. Ah, Wu. What brings you here? Who let you in? In the dim light, he resembled a demon crawling up from hell. I shook my head vigorously, pointing toward the dungeon. What wrong has that person done? Xiaoyu picked me up and carried me out of the dungeon. Step by step, the warm sunlight couldn't dispel the chill that permeated my entire body. Xiaoyu's tone was calm. Wu, have you forgotten? 3 months ago outside the palace, that man tried to assault you, but he never even touched me. Xiaoyu arrived in time and gave him a beating. He had already paid the price back then. The punishment didn't fit the crime. The sound of a man's hoarse gasps came from behind. With his tongue torn out, he couldn't even cry for help. Xiaoyu simply wiped the dirt from the corner of my mouth with his sleeve. Good Wu. Don't come to such places next time. My eyes brimmed with tears. These memories were deleted by the system when I returned to the modern era, fearing they would affect my normal life. Upon seeing Xiaoyu again, they were returned to me in fragmented recollections. Once, under Xiaoyu's protection, he would never hurt me or force me to do such things. But now, I obediently opened my mouth. The cream was sweet. I had wanted him to try it earlier. Now I've eaten it all. My tears were falling heavily. Xiaoyu lifted my chin, making me look up at him. He wiped away my tears. That's a good girl. I closed my eyes, unwilling to look at him. He stopped and slowly picked me up. I didn't understand why he could speak so gently after doing such bad things to me. His kiss landed on the corner of my lips. How old is Wu now? I suddenly opened my eyes. You. He clearly remembered me from beginning to end. 18 now. Is it? He pushed up my nightgown, letting out 2 soft chuckles from his throat. Our Wu has truly grown up. Host. Wake up. You can't be urged. I jolted awake from a nightmare. A sharp electronic tone abruptly appeared and disappeared in my mind, as if it had just been my hallucination. Who's speaking? I groggily rubbed my eyes. A hand reached up from behind and pulled me into an embrace. A warm palm rested on my forehead as the man's voice came softly and tenderly. Had a nightmare. What a familiar voice. My body instinctively shrank back and trembled. He held me tightly, and I didn't break free from his embrace. I looked up dazedly and saw an extraordinarily beautiful face. Who was he again? The man pinched my cheek and kissed my forehead. Silly Ao. Have you forgotten me again? I slowly came to my senses and remembered who he was. It's Xiaoyu. I reached out and hugged him, nuzzling against his chest. I didn't forget. Awu is not a fool. Husband mustn't say that about Awu, or Awu will get angry. His eyes were full of laughter as he stroked my head. It's husband's fault. Our Awu is the smartest. That's more like it. Host. ZZZ. Host. My head hurts. It feels like something is talking. I looked around. Wasn't it just Xiaoyu and me in the hall? Xiaoyu noticed my odd behavior and cupped my face. What's wrong? I wrinkled my nose. It feels like someone's talking to me. The voice was so piercing. You misheard. Oh. Xiaoyu lowered his head and kissed me. Did I mishear? But it seemed like it was calling me. But I don't have time to think about it anymore. Xiaoyu's palm wandered, and I let out a soft moan as I wrapped my arms around his neck. Today was not a day of rest, but we had married last month, and he clung to me relentlessly. The ministers of the previous court all sighed in relief that Xiaoyu had finally come to his senses and married, establishing an empress. They couldn't wait for us to be together day and night, hoping we would soon expand the royal lineage. Xiaoyu caressed my flat belly, whispering against my ear, Awu, do you think there's our baby here now? I blushed furiously. Perhaps there is. Within a month of our marriage, Xiaoyu had disregarded propriety and indulged in daytime intimacy with me on numerous occasions, not to mention at night. Even now, he still, perhaps. Xiaoyu always spoke slowly. No matter what words passed through his lips, they always came out tender and lingering. I'll try harder. I bit his shoulder, crying like a rain-soaked pear blossom, while he gently patted my back and whispered soothingly, Don't cry. Don't cry. It'll be over soon. Liar. He had been deceiving me with those words for over a month. I don't believe it. I turned my head away in a huff. Don't you dare touch me tonight. He agreed. Fine. I was stunned for a moment. He agreed so quickly today. Who knew he'd add, then there'll be no rest during the day. Me? Xiaoyu is still the same Xiaoyu after all. It's terrible. I am the legitimate daughter of the general's mansion. 3 years ago, while enjoying an outing in the suburbs, I encountered Xiaoyu, who was traveling incognito. That day, he was assassinated, and since I was close to him, I got involved. Fortunately, he had some conscience and took me along to escape, to evade pursuit. We waded across the river and hid together in a small cave. It was winter, and with heavy snow at night and our clothes soaked, I nearly froze to death. He went the extra mile to be kind, holding me close to keep me warm through the night. As I looked at his face in his embrace, I thought, if I were to be born again, I wonder if he would marry me. If he doesn't marry me, I'll have to enter the palace for the imperial selection. I have no desire to walk on thin ice in the harem, exhausting all means to vie for favor. After many years on the throne, His Majesty has finally come to his senses. Countless officials rushed to offer their sisters and daughters. My parents said I hit my head when I fell into the water, not only losing all my memories but also becoming foolish. I easily forget what I've done. With such a poor memory, wouldn't I be devoured alive if I entered the palace? Not to mention, the current emperor is a true tyrant in every sense of the word. He ascended the throne with a bloody purge of the court. Known for his cruelty and tyranny, If I say the wrong thing and accidentally offend him, won't I end up being turned into a human swine? Yet my father insists that my fears are unfounded, claiming the emperor will protect and cherish me, forcing me to enter the palace. I think he just wants to sell his daughter for glory. I rolled my eyes. If I were to lose my purity, perhaps I wouldn't have to enter the palace. Right. I grabbed the man holding me and clumsily reached into his robe. He lowered his gaze and pressed my hand down, saying, "Don't be naughty. Wait until we're married." What kind of marriage is this? If you won't let me touch you, I'll just enter the palace. But that night, no matter how I tempted him, he remained unmoved. I was furious, so angry that even though he held me, I ignored him all night. Rescued at dawn the next day, I saw my father arrive at the cave with a large entourage, kneeling and paying respects, addressing him as, "Your Majesty." I was stunned. Later, he cancelled the grand selection and had only me enter the palace to be crowned as the empress. Bearing the responsibility of the entire imperial harem alone is truly exhausting, I thought, rubbing my sore waist and lower abdomen. It's just that I feel like I've forgotten something, but I fell into the water. So it's normal to forget everything from the past. The imperial physician said it's a side effect and prescribed me medicine that needs to be taken daily. After drinking the bitter medicinal soup once again, Xiaoyu fed me a piece of candied fruit. I sat on his lap and cooed. I don't want to drink it anymore. It's too bitter. It's not even a serious illness. I was forced to drink it at the general's residence, and now I still have to drink it in the palace. Hate it. He lowered his gaze. No, but it's so bitter. Taking medicine every day isn't good for our child either. I don't want to drink it anymore. He raised an eyebrow. Where is this child? I don't care. If we keep doing it day and night, we'll eventually have one. I don't want to take the medicine anymore. Xiaoyu refused firmly. We'll talk about it when there's a child. I hung my head in disappointment. Fortunately, he was only thinking of my health. This was the only thing he wouldn't agree to, but he treated me exceptionally well at all other times. We love each other like an ordinary couple. Probably all the rumors about him are false. Right. He's super gentle. Well, except in bed. In mid-June, floods broke out in the south. Xiaoyu personally went to the scene. As an emperor, he had a poor reputation in the imperial court of the capital. Officials feared him, and I had also heard rumors calling him a tyrant. Who would have thought that he enjoyed high prestige among the common people? He governed wisely for 10 years, bringing peace and prosperity to the people. Even in years of poor harvests, the government provided grain relief as a safety net. He dared to kill anyone without hesitation. Those who sought to line their own pockets had to consider how many heads they had to spare. The flood this time was severe, so he personally went to inspect the disaster area. I originally wanted to go along as well. I've been staying in the capital and haven't yet seen the beautiful scenery of the Jiangnan region. But just before departure, I had an accident and told him I wouldn't be going. Xiaoyu was very worried about me and decided to postpone his departure. I wrapped my arms around his neck. The journey is too exhausting. In the plot, the general had only one daughter, and to give up her identity, he executed the female lead. Now, he is using the energy he plundered from me to sustain the world. And this energy can last for at most a year. I didn't understand. System explanation. This is a female-oriented novel world where the male lead can be absent, but the female lead is essential. She is the core of the world. The story ends when the female lead dies. Whether the female lead is strong or weak, noble or despicable, the moment her consciousness fades, the story reaches its finale. Unless you are willing to stay and become the new heroine of this world as he desires, you will be the savior of this world. I lower my head. watching the people coming and going along the palace walls. Some dressed in splendid attire, noble and distinguished. Others in coarse cloth, peddlers and laborers. Each one is vivid. Each one is a living human life. And there was. I touch my belly. The system's energy is too weak to obtain my specific information. What it didn't know was that I hadn't lied to Xiaoyu. I was truly pregnant. In my womb was our shared child. I stretched out my hand and spread my fingers. The June sunlight filters through my fingers. I vaguely recall my first arrival in this world. I landed in an ancient era of strict imperial authority. The system assigned me the identity of a palace maid. Palace maids are also divided into senior and junior maids. The young maids in the cold palace are probably at the very bottom of the hierarchy. Anyone could step on them. As my master, who was bound to me, Xiaoyu initially did not protect me. He just wanted to see how I would endure others' cold stares. How I would be bullied by them. He's so pitiful. So there must be someone as wretched as him. He wanted to see me become a rat, rotting and stinking alongside him. What a pity. I won't do as he wishes. He's beyond saving. I'm just a freshman in college. Survived the fiercely competitive college entrance exam. I chose the university and major that I truly desired. I'm only 18 years old. I shouldn't abandon myself just because a man likes me. These outcomes were not caused by me. I am also a victim. I closed my eyes. Tell the system. I miss Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad are waiting for me at home. I don't want to spend my life with a murderer and rapist. Back to my bed. I was halfway through catching the big goose. The countdown at the top is still going. 4 minutes and 31 seconds. The system said. Small world collapse countdown. 4 months and 15 days. I stopped listening to it and pushed all those messy matters to the back of my mind as I started chasing my big goose. I grabbed another boxed cake from the bedside. This one taro boba flavored. The boba was crispy, and it smelled amazing with every bite. I dug into the cake while chasing the big goose. The game countdown ended, notifying me of my failure. I clicked on an ad to revive. The obnoxious little ad blared loudly, and the system asked me, "Aren't you sad?" I paused for a moment. "Why are you still here?" System. I lay in bed, waiting for the ad countdown to end. I sighed. It's sad, isn't it? A childhood friend developed other feelings for me and then did such terrible things to me. I rolled over. System. Can I discuss something with you? System. What? I bit the spoon as the advertisement ended. Next time, don't bother redeeming the corrupted male leads. Just kill them directly. Why go through all this trouble? Look. Now not only is the male lead problematic, but the female lead is gone and the world is completely screwed. The system remained silent. They are the male leads. I said. They don't deserve to be saved. Epilogue. Before the system left Liang Wu, it asked if there was anything she wanted. She was eating ice cream while shopping with her classmates. She said, "Help me erase my memories." Oh, and the child I was carrying before. It didn't come with me, right? The system replied, "No." She breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. System 0687 found it very strange. Why had it automatically bound to Liang Wu? Other systems hosts all had strong desires and needed to complete tasks seriously. She didn't. She had been forcibly bound. I walked through the palace, knowing the way even with my eyes closed, heading towards Xiaoyu's residence. She is truly weak. Perhaps saving a gloomy male lead requires this kind of optimistic little son. 0687 thought. Her first mission was a great success. The male lead she redeemed was a love-struck fool who fell for her. After the first mission ended, 0687 asked her, "Do you want to stay?" She refused. "No way. I want to go home." So the male lead turned dark once again. All the other assigned strategists failed, and they had no choice but to seek her out once more. This time, the male lead went even crazier, and she was quite pitiful, locked away as a forbidden treasure. But judging by her obedient demeanor, she probably liked the male lead too. 0687 thought. This time she would choose to stay. But in the end, she still left. This time, there's no need to send any other strategists. At the moment before the world collapsed, she genuinely worried about the game she was playing. She didn't inquire about that world's affairs. 0687 suddenly realized why she was automatically bound at the very beginning. She was cold-blooded enough, capable of choosing without hesitation to destroy the broken world. No need for salvation. The end.